Hey, how's we doing, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's all right. So, I think we're gonna move React days to Tuesdays. Um, just, I think it's just gonna be easier for us. So, um, yeah. So tonight we are reacting to what if Masterchief arrived in the Warhammer 40k universe. Um, this should be pretty interesting. Um, I'll be 100% honest. As much as I am, uh, as much as I love sci-fi and games and stuff like that, I never really got much into Halo. Um, when Halo came out, I was, and to be frankly, still am, a PlayStation person. So I never had an Xbox. So I never really played Halo. I did on occasion when when my friends would be playing, get to see it. Um, but that was about it. Um, I never really got into the lore. I never really got into seeing it too much. Um, I know that. So I don't know a ton about Master Chief. I'm hoping at least some of that will be explained. From what I understand, he is some kind of super soldier. Um, but that's about it. Yeah. Um, um, we're gonna go ahead and um, we can get started here in just a minute. A few things that I do want to go over. Again, we're probably going to be switching it up. Our React days were supposed to be Sunday evenings. I know that Sunday evenings are going to tend to clash with some things for some people in the community. For those of you who are wrestling fans, it's going to pretty much clash with any of your pay-per-views. Sundays are also, I want to try and keep Sundays as my one day off. Tuesdays will also just generally work better for me, as I have work during the day and then I don't have to worry about playing a game or anything like that. I can just sit back and react after a day at work. So that's what we're going to do. I will try and fit gaming streams in occasionally during the course of the week. But those will be more random whenever I can manage to get them in. Something big, and speaking of gaming, to keep in mind, is Thursday is the early access for Dune Awakening, which I will be in, and I will be attempting to join my friends over at the Guard Frequency podcast on their playthrough. We have discussed whether or not to do a private server. We're gonna try the public servers first and see. I have discussed whether or not to do a private server for the community. Excuse me. And that's pretty much going to dictate, be decided by the community engagement, how many people want to play, if I can get other streamers that want to play and join us on the server. If we can get enough people that it would be worth it to play, then we'll probably set up our own private server for the community. Otherwise, we'll just see how things go on the uh, public servers. But I will be streaming plenty of that whenever I do get to play. School is out now, so life is pretty crazy as far as all of that is concerned. Um, Dealing with kids and sleep schedules and things like that. So, um, yeah. Um, so, yeah. So keep watch. We're going to be doing reacts on Tuesday nights. And then we will be doing games throughout the week. Friday mornings will still be our mini mornings where we'll do mini painting, assembling, and things of the sort. My children are going crazy. So, yeah. Back to tonight, though. We have Masterchief and 40K. So this is going to be interesting. I do, like I said, I don't know a ton of information about Masterchief. I know he's supposed to be some kind of super soldier. I don't know if he's genetically augmented. I don't know if he's built that way, if it's a Captain America thing, if it's the armor, or I really have no concept. I don't know much about it. What I do know is I do know 40K lore. So we'll see about that. My prediction is that from what I have seen of Halo and Halo gameplay, Master Chief is going to be in for a very rude and grimdark awakening. So, again, this is produced by Dreadcore. These guys have, when we reacted last week to what if a Space Marine came to our real timeline, to modern day, and that was interesting. Definitely not what I was originally thinking it was going to be. This is not a comparison. This is a narrative. These are stories of what's going on. This is not a, oh, well, if X, then Y. So this is very much going through in a narrative way of telling a story. Somehow something is going to happen that's going to shunt Master Chief into the 40K universe. Probably something to do with a warp gate or a webway. Just taking a guess, because those are pretty much the two ways that you could justifiably have this happen. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. Also keep in mind, there, and that way you can vote for which one we do next. We only had one vote this week, which was Migwar. Migwar voted for Master Chief, so we're doing Master Chief. The more votes, the better, guys. I appreciate, you know, the few of you that have joined the Discord. We have a pretty small select group on there now, but it's where I tend to post a lot of my pictures of my miniatures that I've painted. I encourage, you know, community members to post pictures there. I encourage self promotion for any of the other streamers. Funny memes and haha, and you know, stuff like that. So I highly advise everybody to, hey, Mig showed up, he's here, the plane, he's here. So But anyway, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into this. Um, and see what happens when Halo meets 40K.
Master Chief's descent into chaos began with a flash of light and the scream of distorted energy. One moment, he had been aboard the UNSC Infinity, overseeing the investigation of a derelict Forerunner installation. The next, he was falling through an endless void, his HUD blinking erratically as warnings flared across his visor. Warning, unknown spatial anomaly, suit integrity at risk. Cortana, he murmured, an instinctive habit that still lingered despite her absence. The AI's voice didn't answer. Only the silence of space and the roar of his own breathing filled the void. Gravity returned with a vengeance as Chief was yanked out of the swirling maelstrom of the portal and into a new, alien sky. The clouds above were choked with ash, and the faint smell of sulfur permeated the air. His suit's thrusters kicked in just before impact, slowing his descent enough to prevent death, not pain. He hit the ground with a bone-jarring crash, carving a shallow trench into the dirt. For a moment, he lay still, letting his suit's systems recalibrate. He scanned the horizon as his HUD stabilized, feeding him fragmented data on an unfamiliar world. A barren wasteland stretched out before him, dotted with jagged rock formations and sparse vegetation. Above, twin suns burned weakly in a sky painted a sickly orange. Mission priority: survive. Pushing himself to his feet, Chief assessed his surroundings. His Mjolnir armor, though scuffed from the fall, remained intact. His assault rifle was slung securely across his back, and his sidearm felt reassuringly familiar at his hip. Still, he couldn't shake the unease gnawing at his gut. This place was wrong. He didn't have long to reflect. A distant rumble drew his attention, growing louder with every passing second. Chief instinctively took cover behind a boulder, peering out to locate the source. Over a ridge, a crude vehicle topped with mismatched metal plates and adorned with crude glyphs appeared. It belched black smoke as it rumbled forward, carrying a horde of green-skinned creatures that howled with manic glee. Orcs. Chief.
Okay, so right away, like I said earlier, I don't know a ton about Halo or Master Chief. So I'm glad that we're not going like Space Marine into Halo universe. I would have less to talk about then. But like I said, I don't know if Master Chief is some kind of superhuman. I think he is supposed to be. Maybe somebody in chat can tell me. I think he's supposed to be some kind of super soldier, with advanced armor and technology. He's got good instincts though. I mean, wind up on a random deserted planet, and you hear shit, so take cover. Pretty good instincts. I love the fact that it started off with Master Chief's fighting Khorne in the description, or however it was that was first said. Interaction with Khorne, and the first things that we come across is a freaking orc truck full of boys. Let's see what the boys do.
Didn't know the name yet, but the sight of their brutish forms and jagged weapons told him everything he needed to know. These were enemies. The orcs spotted him almost immediately. The lead creature, larger than the others and wielding a massive cleaver, bellowed something unintelligible before pointing directly at Master Chief. The horde erupted in laughter and snarls.
Unintelligible. Oi! Oh, I thank you, Meg. I love the fact that the story calls hooligan British as unintelligible. Because That's how the orcs sound. You get. I'm looking for a fight.
Eager for blood. Chief's training kicked in. He unslung his assault rifle and opened fire. The first orc charging toward him dropped with a satisfying thud, its chest peppered with armor-piercing rounds. Another fell as Chief pivoted, his movements precise and deliberate.
And yes, the Spartans are biologically and mechanically enhanced super soldiers. Okay, like are we talking on the scale of Space Marines? Or are we talking like less? More elegant? Okay. Less redundant systems, and so are we talking like we're talking like elegant, like if we would put it in like Shadowrun, we're talking like more human than machine. Yeah, so it's a lot of BioWare, less cybernetics, more augmenting and less reconstruction. Gotcha. Okay. So he's still a dude. He's just a dude that's a bit buffed. So he's what happens when you take an Imperial Guardsman and give him a makeover. So he'd probably be somewhere around the power level of a Space Marine Scout, or a novitiate, depending on what chapter you're talking about. It's less aggressive than Space Marine Augment. What, you mean it's not entirely genetic rewriting? Why not? So Space Marine Scouts or novitiates, depending on what chapter you're talking about, have received some augmentation, but they've undergone gene seed treatment, but they have not undergone the full change. It's kind of that young blood training, learning how to use all of their abilities and stuff like that. So right off the bat, I'm going to go with the assumption that he's on par with a Space Marine Scout. I'm not sure if this little pea shooter rifle that he's carrying, assault weapon that he's carrying, is going to do much. Again, like we talked about in the last video we watched, they do have slug throwers in the 40k universe. They're literally called slug throwers, or sluggas. The orcs use sluggas. But they're not used often because they're not as efficient. Okay. So yeah, so I'm not sure how well the assault rifle is going to do for him, but considering the fact that Space Marines shoot many rocket propelled grenades at orcs, and orcs die, so I think we might be going a little giving the assault rifle a bit of a boost coming into this, but we'll let it fly.
But they kept coming. The crude vehicle screeched to a halt, and the remaining orcs leapt out, weapons blazing. Chief ducked behind the boulder as bullets and shrapnel ricocheted around him. He popped out just long enough to take down 2 more, their bodies crumpling into the dust. The orc leader roared, swinging its cleaver as it charged straight for Chief's cover. Chief tossed a frag grenade, its arc perfect. The explosion rocked the battlefield, throwing the leader off balance, but not stopping it. Chief readied his pistol as the hulking creature closed the gap, its feral eyes gleaming with bloodlust. At the last moment, Chief sidestepped, ducking under the cleaver's swing and unloading 3 rounds directly into the creature's skull. It stumbled, its momentum carrying it forward before collapsing into a heap. The remaining orcs hesitated, their bravado wavering without their leader. But Chief didn't give them a chance to regroup. He moved with lethal efficiency, picking them off one by one until the battlefield was silent. Smoke and blood hung heavy in the air. Chief stood amongst the carnage, his armor spattered with green blood. A sound broke the silence, a faint cry, but human.
Okay, hold up. I gotta go back a little bit. Yeah, it's 7.62. 7.62 round. It might be a little bit longer, but that's pretty much a standard NATO 7.62 round. Same thing that like the AR shoots. So it's not don't get me wrong, it's not a small round. I mean, it's designed for piercing through, body armor, but I think we're giving it a little bit of a power bump coming into this when orcs get shot by RPGs, armor piercing rocket propelled grenades, and don't die, and he's taking them out with 7.62 NATO rounds. I think we might be giving him a little bit of a bump, especially taking out an orc knob with 3 to the dome out of a pistol, which I'm gonna guess, just gonna throw this out there, is if it's a sidearm and he's rocking 7.62 in his main his main assault rifle, sidearm is gonna probably be 45, maybe 9 mil, 10 mil, 45, somewhere in there. So yeah, we might be giving him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think that he would have fared that well as he did, without giving his weaponry a little bit of a bump. Which, it's narrative. I'm okay with that. But a truck full of boys is like 10 orcs, and we heard like 5 go down. So where's the other 5? I need to go back a little bit because I got distracted because I noticed my Stream Elements bot commands are not functioning correctly, and that distracted me. I need to fix that. So let's start this back up.
Wavering without their leader. But Chief didn't give them a chance to regroup. He moved with lethal efficiency, picking them off one by one until the battlefield was silent.
Yeah, that's not how orcs work. Orcs swarm. Like, there's no picking them off one by one. Like, all 10 of them would have been on his ass like white on rice. Like, there's no one by one.
Smoke and blood hung heavy in the air. Chief stood amongst the carnage, his armor spattered with green blood. A sound broke the silence, a faint cry, but human. Chief's gaze snapped to a nearby ridge, where a makeshift barricade of wooden planks and rusted metal had been erected. Beyond it, a small group of civilians cowered, their faces pale and gaunt. A young woman held a rifle that looked more decorative than functional, its muzzle trembling as she aimed it at him. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice shaking. I'll shoot." Chief raised a hand, keeping his weapon pointed at the ground. "I'm not your enemy," he said, his voice calm but firm. Are you hurt? The woman.
All right. So we'll take a look at this. Spartan 2 augmentation process. Biochemical experiments, augmentations per Oh, what? Google, shut up. Okay, so procedure: carbide ceramic ossification. Advanced material grafting on skeletal structures to make bones virtually unbreakable. Recommended coverage not to exceed 3% of total bone mass because of slight white blood cell necrosis. So that's close. That's somewhat similar to a Space Marine's black carapace, except for the fact that the black carapace is all of it, like covers everything. Muscular enhancement injections. Protein complex is injected intramuscularly to increase tissue density and decrease lactase. Okay, that's fine. Just make them stronger, more increased stamina. Catalytic thyroid implant. Platinum pellet containing human growth hormone catalyst is implanted in the thyroid to boost growth of skeletal and muscular tissues. Okay. Occipital capillary reversal, submergence, and boosted blood vessel flow beneath the rods and cones of the subject's retinas produce marked visual perception increase. I know that Space Marines have something to do with their eyes. I don't remember what exactly. Superconducting fibrification of neural dendrites. Alteration of bioelectric transduction to shielded electronic transduction. 300% increase in subject reflexes. Anecdotal evidence marked increased memory. Okay. So, yeah, it's pretty much close to what you were saying. Like, there is no redundant systems here. And some of the things that are very much 40K are not here. But I mean, it's for the most part, you're talking about skeletal muscular implants and upgrades so that you're stronger, faster reflexes, more perceptive, can think, you're smarter, think faster, and have, again, faster reflexes. Like, yeah, this all makes sense. And then you've got some bone sheathing, advanced material grafting onto skeletal structures. So yeah, some carbide ceramic bone sheathing to make your bones more durable. Although not to exceed 3% of total bone mass, like, that's not a lot. Like 1 to 2% of your total bone mass having this, that's not gonna do much. But anyway, we got 2 hours and 38 minutes of this video, so I don't know if we're gonna make it all tonight, because that's gonna put us at 2.5 hours. That'll put us at like closing in on 11 o'clock. We may not make it all. We might have to break this into 2 weeks. Which 100%, I want to be honest, like, I'm okay with doing that because these are very, very long videos. So we'll see where we're getting at around the halfway mark. We might end up splitting this into 2 weeks. You think that's viable, Mig? Okay, so our Masterchief just took out a squad of orcs, a squad of boys, but it sounds like shooter boys. Which, if they were shooter boys, I could understand the whole thing about picking them off one by one, because then they wouldn't be, charging him with choppas. But he said that they charged in anyway. Either way, doesn't matter. So Masterchief wakes up, finds him, comes to after lawn darting onto a weird planet. Here's an orc truck, sees a bunch of people climb out, takes out a squad of orcs, puts 3 into the brain pan of a knob, turns around to see a woman, a human woman, holding what looks to be an ornamental rifle. And now we're having a conversation.
Functional, its muscle trembling as she aimed it at him. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice shaking. I'll shoot." Chief raised a hand, keeping his weapon pointed at the ground. "I'm not your enemy," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Are you hurt?" The woman hesitated, glancing at the fallen orcs, her rifle lowered slightly. "You killed them." "They were attacking me," Chief replied. "I'm guessing they've been attacking you too." A grizzled older man stepped forward, leaning heavily on a crude crutch. "They've been raiding us for weeks, killed half our people and took the rest as slaves. Who are you?" Chief paused. How could he explain his presence? "A soldier," he said finally. "Not from here." The old man studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Doesn't matter where you're from. If you can fight like that, then we need your help."
Okay. Well, we'll let it go, but this is part one of where I'm going to say culturally, this would not happen. In the 40K universe, especially in the Imperium, if you're talking about people, if you're talking about humans, in the Imperium of Man, it is such a fanatical cult that is so severely xenophobic that the minute that he shows up and they say, "Who are you?" and he says, "A soldier from not here," is the minute they're going to assume, considering the fact that we're talking, armor and technology that is completely unbeknownst to them, they're going to assume Xenos. And honestly, I don't know, because his armor does kind of reflect. I don't know. It's a tough call, but I honestly, I think that the first thing that would come to mind would be that they would probably be calling Xenos, and probably wouldn't stop until he took his helmet off and proved that he was human.
Chief followed the villagers back to their settlement, a collection of ramshackle buildings clustered around a small water reservoir. Children peered out from doorways, their wide eyes filled with both fear and curiosity.
It does look very close to Imperium armor, but it also looks very close to Tau armor. And considering the fact that it doesn't look like standard issue Imperial Guard armor, it's a 50-50 toss-up thing. Like I said, well, I'll let it go to see where it goes, but that's my initial first call.
Busied themselves reinforcing barricades and tending to wounded, but their movements were sluggish, their faces marked by exhaustion. The old man introduced himself as Garrett, the de facto leader of the settlement. Over a hastily prepared meal of dried meat and grain, he explained their plight. The orcs had arrived months ago, descending from the mountains in ever-increasing numbers. The Imperium, whoever they were, had offered no aid, leaving the settlers to fend for themselves. "We sent a message to the local guard detachment," Garrett said, his voice bitter. "Never got a response. Far as they're concerned, we're not worth the effort." Chief listened in silence, his mind already working through the possibilities. The settlement's defences were pitiful, and their weapons even worse. If the orcs mounted another large-scale assault, these people wouldn't stand a chance. "How many fighters do you have?" he asked. Garrett sighed. "Not enough. Maybe 20, counting the boys who can barely hold a rifle." Chief nodded. "Then we'll need to do more than defend." The room fell silent as the settlers exchanged uncertain glances. The young woman who had pointed the rifle at Chief earlier, Lena, he learned her name was, spoke up. "You mean Attack them? Hit their supply lines, Chief clarified. Disrupt their operations. Make them think twice about targeting you. Garrett frowned. That sounds like suicide. Not if it's done right, Chief countered. I'll lead the missions. Your people can focus on defending the settlement. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Garrett nodded slowly. If you're willing to fight for us, we won't say no. The next day, Chief began training the settlers.
So, you do bring up a good point. These people are out in the middle of nowhere, and somebody's just randomly showed up, saved them, and is willing to help them fight. Sounds like they have, at least sought out. So, where he went, where these guys or where this guy went wrong, a little bit wrong at, is that even if this is what's called an aggro world, okay, so in 40K, worlds are broken down by purpose. Okay, it's not like here. It's not like Earth, where we have big open areas of farmland and then cities and then, giant industrial sectors. That's not the way it works. A planet will be dictated as an agro planet or an agricultural planet. And every square inch of that planet that is viable agricultural land will be used for that specific purpose. Hab settings, small villages, towns, things like that will be run by a local magistrate that will have a area that they cover. Will then, it is very much a feudal society. So there's no de facto leader of a city. Like if this was an agri-planet, then these people would report to their lord, hey, we got raided by orcs, by Xenos, and the lord would probably initially send out the Arbites, 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 the Arbites, I don't know how you pronounce it, which is kind of like a SWAT team to assess the situation, and if need be, to contact the local, the lord, the magistrate would then contact the lord, say, hey, we have a Xenos incursion, and the lord would then muster whatever local guard regiment is stationed to that planet. And that's how this would be handled. But there's no, there wouldn't be if this was an Imperial world, and if it was still under Imperial rule, and there was still Imperial Guard on said planet, there would be no de facto ruler. So they did slide away from the 40K lore setting part there a bit, because 40K is very much a feudal society. At the bottom of the barrel, you have the regular people, and then you have magistrates and lords and deacons and sires and all of your normal titles. These people would probably be referring to Masterchief as my lord, even if he's not a space marine, even if he's not one of the Emperor's angels. They don't know what he is or what his title would be, so they would probably be referring to him as my lord. So that's kind of one big thing that they didn't take into account, is the fact that it is a very feudal society. So we'll move on with the rest of this, and I won't bring that up again. But But keep in mind that that is how like these people would be working. And on top of that, going outside of your cast, going outside of your station, um, was not easy, was not viewed upon well. So like these people would have been a lot more resistant against this than otherwise, because there is a very strict, well enforced chain of command, and you follow it. If you don't, you get dubbed a heretic, and the Inquisition comes and asks you questions. So like we're gonna put that on the back burner, but that's a huge detraction of the way that this should be going, because the way that they wrote this would be, these people would be acting completely different. Even if they didn't see Master Chief and automatically think Xenos, they're still the bottom of the rung of a very strict, hierarchical, feudal society.
He drilled them in basic combat tactics, teaching them how to aim, how to move, and how to work as a team. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. Meanwhile,
Unless those children are like 2 years old, I highly doubt they're that much bigger than them. And it sounds like there really none of that here, because it sounds like a people planet are of no interest to the Imperium. And see, that's the thing, is there are planets that are like that. There are what the Imperium refers to as lost worlds. Okay, so don't get me wrong. And then there are planets that are not part of the Imperium that humans have settled on. Lost worlds, there are trillions of human worlds, and there are not nearly enough people to like govern them all. So that's one thing. But if it is an important enough world that there would be okay, 6'10" and larger than Brock Lesnar, that's fine. But if he's 6'10" out of his armor, so we're gonna say he's 8 foot in his armor. I guess his knee would probably be about 2 foot. So yeah, I mean, if that smallest kid there is a toddler, then maybe. But I don't doubt that he's a big dude. That's fine. This is AI generated, portraits anyway. It doesn't matter. Back to what I was saying. Even if it was some backwater out of the that the Imperium doesn't have a ton of interest in, if it's enough of an interest to have an Imperial Guard regiment on the planet, like they mentioned that they tried to get involved, then it's important enough of a planet to have a magistrate and a lord and be like actually run. So like I said, we're going to continue with this assumption that they just didn't think about that aspect of imperial life. And the fact that it is a very feudal hierarchical society, and straying outside of that hierarchy is a very good way to bring the church down on you. 7'2", 1,000 pounds in armor. So he's give or take about 3 feet shorter and 1,000 pounds lighter than a Primaris Space Marine. Primaris Marines are give or take about 10 feet tall and about 2,000 pounds. Give or take, from what I understand. So, yeah. I mean, he's still not a small dude. Don't get me wrong. But still. Moving on.
He scouted the surrounding area, mapping out Orc patrol routes and supply depots. Their first raid was a small one, targeting an Orc convoy transporting munitions. Chief led a team of 5 settlers, including Lena, who had proved to be a quick learner. They struck at night, ambushing the convoy with improvised explosives and concentrated fire. The settlers were nervous, but followed Chief's orders to the letter. When the last Orc fell, their cheers were muted but genuine. "You did well," Chief said as they looted the wreckage for anything useful. "But this is just the beginning." Over the following weeks, Chief's hit-and-run tactics began to take a toll on the Orcs. Supply depots were destroyed, patrols ambushed, and morale shattered.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to let this go to just be a good story. 100% modern day tactics against your conventional target, against conventional military force. What they're talking about, taking out supply lines, hitting convoys, things like that, 100% would work against literally anybody else in the 40K universe except the Orcs. Orcs don't care. Orcs don't care. They're disorganized. They are chaos incarnate. They don't care. They're also fungus. They don't eat. Like, there's just, so far, it seems like there's a lot of, like, this would be a really interesting story. They picked the wrong opponent. I think if this was Tau, Eldar maybe, hell, even Renegade Imperial Guard, this would be a much more believable, it would be much more believable story. But right now they got the setting wrong. So yeah, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna let it ride out and see what happens. And that's part of the reaction, Mig. It's part of the reaction, bud.
Settlers, once beaten down by despair, began to hold their heads higher. Chief's presence gave them hope, though he knew it was a fragile thing. But the Orcs were nothing if not persistent. Their attacks on the settlement grew more ferocious, forcing Chief to split his attention between leading raids and reinforcing defences. It was during one such attack that Chief realised the Orcs were more organised than he'd first thought. A war boss was in command, directing the assaults with brutal cunning. "We'll need to take him out," Chief told Garrett after the battle.
Is it brutal cunning or cunning brutality?
"If we don't, they'll keep coming." Garrett nodded grimly. "Then we'd best make it count." As Chief began preparing for the final strike against the war boss, he couldn't shake the feeling that his journey had only just begun. This world, this universe, was unlike anything he'd ever faced. But one thing remained constant. He would fight, not because he had to, but because it was the right thing to do.
That in and of itself is a very un-40K thing. I approve.
The settlement was quiet as dawn broke, the orange light of the alien suns creeping across the jagged landscape. Masterchief stood atop the tallest structure, scanning the horizon through his enhanced optics. The fields of ash and sparse rock formations offered little cover, but it was a vulnerability he was determined to exploit. Behind him, the villagers stirred. Under Chief's guidance, the once defeated settlement had transformed into something more resilient. Makeshift barricades had been reinforced with scavenged metal, and sentry positions had been established. The air was tense, each villager carrying the knowledge that today might bring yet another orc assault. Chief activated his comms. "Lena, report." Lena's voice crackled in his earpiece. "North perimeter secure. No movement yet. Trolls came back from last night's raid and, well, let's just say morale's better than it was." Chief allowed himself the briefest acknowledgement of their progress. "Keep watch. If anything moves, I want to know about it immediately." He climbed down from his post and approached the central square where Garrett was organising a group of villagers. They were armed with an assortment of weapons, scavenged lasguns, homemade explosives, and a few bolt-action rifles that had likely seen better centuries. Chief's own gear was a stark contrast, his Mjolnir armour gleaming despite its recent trials. "How's it looking?" Garrett asked.
So one thing I will bring up is I'm glad that that they didn't include taking any of the weapons and stuff from the orcs, because they probably wouldn't have worked. The way orc and orc technology works. Orc tech works because the orcs believe it works. There is canon about guardsmen picking up sluggas that were literally just being shot, like by orcs. Like a guardsman picking up a slugga, pulling the trigger, and like there's no ammo in it, or it doesn't work, or it just falls apart. Orc tech works because orcs believe it does. So none of the equipment that they would have been able to scavenge would have been worth anything more than literal just scrap metal, scavenged metal, or equipment of some kind.
His voice rough with fatigue. "Quiet," Chief replied. "Too quiet. The orcs are regrouping. It's only a matter of time before they hit us again." Garrett nodded grimly. "You've been saying that for days. Any sign of this war boss you're so worried about?" "Not yet," Chief admitted, "but he's out there, and when he comes, it won't be like the skirmishes we've seen so far." Garrett glanced at the villagers. "You think we're ready?" Chief considered the question carefully. The settlers had improved, no doubt, but their inexperience still showed in their movements and reactions. Still, they had something the orcs lacked: discipline and determination.
Against the full strength of a Wa, no. Settlers with bolt-action pit rifles and las guns against the full might of an orc Wa, no. Chief gonna do the majority of the lifting here. Looks like we got ads coming up in about 3 minutes. So when the ads start, I will pause and let the ads play so nobody will miss stuff.
"We're as ready as we're going to be," he said finally, "but we can't wait for them to come to us. We need to take the fight to them." Later that morning, Chief gathered his hand-picked team for the operation. Lena stood at his side, her confidence growing with every successful mission. Alongside her were 4 others: Jorik, a burly miner with a knack for explosives; Rena, a sharp-eyed scout; Dav, a wiry teenager whose speed made him ideal for hit-and-run tactics; and Harvick, a grizzled veteran of some long-forgotten war. Chief laid out the plan. "We've located an orc outpost 5 clicks to the east. It's a staging area for their assaults, and it's where they're keeping most of their vehicles. If we take it out, we'll cripple their mobility and buy the settlement time to fortify further." Jorik grinned, hefting a satchel of homemade explosives. "Sounds like my kind of job." Chief nodded. "Rena, you'll scout ahead and provide overwatch. Jorik, you'll handle demolitions. Lena, Dav, and Harvick will cover me while I secure the command tent. Any questions?" None came. The team had learned to trust Chief's leadership, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The trek to the orc outpost was uneventful, the team moving swiftly and silently through the barren landscape. As they neared their target, Rena signaled for the group to halt. She pointed to a ridge overlooking the outpost, her keen eyes having already spotted the crude fortifications and the hulking green figures patrolling them. Chief motioned for the team to take cover. Through his scope, he surveyed the site. The outpost was a sprawling mess of scrap metal, dirt-packed walls and smoking chimneys. Orc vehicles, ramshackle constructs bristling with guns, were parked in haphazard rows. At the centre, a crude tower loomed, its top adorned with the severed heads of unfortunate victims. "Looks like a dozen guards," Rena whispered. "Maybe more inside." Chief formulated the plan in his head.
All right, so far the whole build up to this assault has been pretty awesome. But we got ads starting here in about 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here. We're going to let the ad roll run. Get up, get yourself something to eat, something to drink, refill your water. If you do subscribe, you can skip those ads. If not, then enjoy the time. And we'll see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, and we're back. You're right, Meg. It doesn't sound like much of a law, but that's another thing. Um, a war boss wouldn't be in charge of something this small, um, unless it was part of a WA of a large war band. Um, it would probably be like a knob or a mega knob, maybe a weird boy or some other kind of command unit. A war boss would be a much larger force. Again, that's just kind of the way that the orcs are set up. Again, the way that they're portraying orcs in this is far more organized than orcs actually are. 100%. Like orcs fight each other. Like just as many orcs die from like fighting each other than from like fighting the enemy because they just want to fight. So like they are portraying orcs as far more organized and like than they actually are. But I'll we'll let it go. We'll let it go. Waiting to see. Now here's the thing to consider: would these people know that he's war boss, the biggest, is the one in charge? No. More than likely that none of the well, they did say that there was one veteran. Depending on if that veteran had fought against orcs previous, but chances are none of these civilians, these villagers, are going to know about orc physiology and about orc society to know that the biggest one is in charge, the biggest and the strongest, um, and or that it would be called a war boss. I think they're just including that term um, because in 40K the game, um, a war boss is like the highest you can get. Um, he would be the equivalent of a general or something. So, um, I don't think that they're. I don't think that they're even giving that information. I think it's more of like Chief just like assessing the situation and being able to dictate that this is what's going on. Because realistically, none of these people would know anything other than these are Xenos. They wouldn't have any other information to give them. The veteran, depending on where he served and what he fought against and what information he was privy to, might know something or might have heard something, but chances are very slim. Also, I got some. I hadn't had a chance to eat dinner after getting home from work yet, so I will be eating some ravioli while doing this. So here we go.
We'll split into two teams. Rena and Jorik, you take the left flank, set charges on the vehicles, and make as much noise as you can. The rest of us will hit the right flank and push toward the command tower. Stick to your objectives and don't engage unless necessary. The team nodded, their nerves hidden behind determined faces. The assault began with a flash and a bang. Jorik's explosives tore through the first row of vehicles, sending shrapnel and fire into the air. Orcs scrambled in confusion, roaring and firing wildly as they searched for the source of the attack. Rena picked off targets from her perch, her aim unerring. On the right flank, Chief led the charge. He moved like a force of nature, his assault rifle barking as he dispatched the first wave of defenders. Lena and Dav followed closely, their movements coordinated as they provided covering fire. Harvick stayed back, his heavy lasgun suppressing any orcs who tried to flank them. Chief reached the base of the tower, his path marked by fallen enemies. He signaled for Lena and Dav to secure the perimeter, while he breached the command tent. The interior was a chaotic mess of maps, weapons, and crude trophies. Chief scanned the room, his HUD tagging points of interest. Then he saw it. A massive, makeshift throne at the center of the tent, and sitting upon it was a towering figure clad in piecemeal armor, its tusked face twisted in a grin of savage amusement. The war boss. You think you can sneak into my camp and get away with it?
I gotta stop here. One, I love the fact that that is a very World of Warcraft work. That is not a very 40k work. Two, there's no way in hell that there's a fight going on and a war boss is sitting on this throne. It's not going to happen. That war boss is going to be out there in a fight. He's not going to be sitting around. And two, while orcs aren't like really dumb, they're not smart either. They're not going to have this, conversation. 100%. 100%. And he is not nearly enough like a war boss is going to be like one entire arm is going to be metal with a giant claw, like three bladed like crab claw on one side and a giant like multi-barreled like giant freaking gun on the other side, like, and he would be armored from like head to toe. Like, on top of that, I'm not joking when I say the biggest like knobs and like mega knobs are the size of Space Marines. War bosses are bigger than Space Marines. If you look at the Ghazghkull Thraka or the War Boss miniature, and Ghazghkull Thraka being the big nasty war boss, the Ghazghkull Thraka as a miniature is about the same size as a freaking dreadnought. So, like, I love the picture. Straight up great picture for like a fantasy orc, but really not a 40k orc. Also, like I said, there's no way in hell that there's going to be an explosion and any orc is going to be sitting on a throne inside a tent. Like, it's just not going to happen. The minute that there's a fight, like, every orc's going to be looking for a fight. So, take that as you will.
Creature bellowed, rising, twisted in a grin of savage amusement. The war boss. You think you can sneak into my camp and get away with it? The creature bellowed, rising to its full, intimidating height. It wielded a massive power claw in one hand and a brutish chain axe in the other.
I probably wouldn't bother with the chain axe and the power claw, but okay. At least it got a power claw. Just not what the picture shows.
Chief raised his weapon but didn't fire. You talk too much, he said calmly. The war boss roared and charged, shaking the ground with every step. Chief dodged the first swing of the power claw, his reflexes honed to perfection. He fired a burst directly into the war boss's chest. The creature's armor absorbed most of the impact. The two clashed in a brutal melee. Chief's speed and precision were pitted against the war boss's raw strength and ferocity. The fight spilled out of the tent, drawing the attention of both the orcs and the settlers. Lena's eyes widened as she saw Chief trading blows with a massive enemy. Cover him, she shouted, rallying the others to push harder against the remaining orcs. Chief ducked under another swing and countered with a powerful punch to the war boss's side. The creature staggered but didn't fall. Instead, it grabbed Chief by the arm, its power claw sparking as it began to crush his armor. Chief gritted his teeth, using his free hand to draw his sidearm and fire point blank into the war boss's exposed face. The creature howled in pain, releasing Chief as it stumbled backward, but Chief didn't hesitate. He grabbed a fallen grenade, armed it, and hurled it directly into the war boss's open mouth. The explosion was deafening, and when the smoke cleared, the war boss lay motionless, its head reduced to a smouldering crater. With the war boss defeated, the remaining orcs fought on with a frenzy that could only be described as suicidal. Chief and the settlers didn't relent. Every last orc was brought down in the ensuing chaos, their brute resilience no match for the settlers' determination and Chief's superior tactical knowledge. When the dust settled, the outpost was silent, save for the crackle of flames from destroyed vehicles and structures. Chief surveyed the carnage. That's all of them. Lena approached, her rifle slung over her shoulder. We actually did it. Jorik grinned, wiping green blood from his face. Damn right we did. As the group regrouped, a low rumble echoed across the barren landscape. Chief's enhanced optics picked out movement on the horizon. A column of figures marched in perfect formation, their uniforms stark against the ash-covered terrain. Imperial guardsmen. The soldiers, led by a grizzled commissar, entered the smouldering remains of the orc camp. The commissar, his posture rigid and his expression severe, surveyed the scene before his eyes locked on to Chief. Impressive, the commissar said, his voice like a blade drawn across stone. But now the Emperor demands his due. This settlement will provide conscripts and resources for the Imperium's war effort. Chief stepped forward, his stance firm. These people just fought to survive. They're not soldiers, and they're not expendable. The commissar's eyes narrowed. You dare defy the will of the Emperor? Think carefully, soldier. You stand on the edge of heresy. The settlers tensed, their weapons at the ready.
100%. 100%. That's exactly how that would have gone.
The chief didn't waver. I've fought enough battles to know when a fight isn't worth it. This settlement stays free. A tense silence fell over the camp as the two leaders faced each other, the weight of their convictions threatening to ignite a new conflict. The settlers watched anxiously, knowing that whatever happened next would shape their future.
So before we get into the next part of the story, here's what should happen per the lore, and we'll see if per the lore this is what should happen. The commissar is going to pull out his bolt pistol and put rounds in fucking Masterchief. Why? Because commissar don't play. Commissar kill soldiers. Think 1940s Soviet Russia. You do not comply. You are with the enemy and you're dead. Commissar is going to pull out a bolt pistol and he's going to put two into Masterchief. That's what should happen in the lore. The entire company is going to back him up, and the entire city is going to be dubbed conscripts. And if they continue to resist, they're going to be dubbed heretics. And an inquisitor will be brought in. They may not even bother with the inquisitor. They're just going to dub them heretics and just murder the entire village. Done. The will of the commissar is enough. So I'm going to guess what's going to actually happen, and we'll see if I'm right, is that the commissar is going to back down. But that is by far not what should happen.
The standoff between Masterchief and the commissar held the camp in tense silence, each side locked in a battle of wills. The commissar's piercing gaze shifted from Chief's unwavering visor to the settlers, noting their makeshift weapons and nervous expressions. His voice broke the stillness, laced with cold authority. "You wear the guise of a soldier, but I've never seen armor like yours," the commissar said, stepping forward. His coat swayed with the wind, and the polished aquila on his chestplate glinted in the dim light. "What are you, heretic? Some Xenos abomination?" Masterchief's response was as unyielding as the armor he wore. "I'm a soldier, and these people are under my protection." The commissar's lip curled in disdain. "Your protection? The Emperor's will is the only protection that matters, and you will not stand in the way of his demands. Surrender the men of this settlement for conscription, or I will take them by force." Chief didn't flinch. He looked past the commissar at the platoon of Imperial Guardsmen. Their lasguns were raised, their discipline evident in their unwavering formation. Behind him, the settlers bristled with tension, their weapons trembling in inexperienced hands. "No one's going anywhere," Chief said. The commissar's expression darkened. "You dare defy the Imperium? Guardsmen, take them!" The soldiers surged forward, their boots crunching against the scorched ground. Chief moved like a shadow come to life, stepping into their path before they reached the settlers. His first strike disarmed the lead guardsman with a precise blow to the wrist. The lasgun clattered to the ground as the soldier stumbled back, clutching his arm in shock. Another guardsman lunged, bayonet flashing, but Chief sidestepped, catching the weapon's haft in his armoured hand. With a twist, he wrenched it free and spun, using the rifle's butt to knock the soldier to the ground. The camp erupted into chaos. Guardsmen fired wildly, their shots ricocheting harmlessly off Chief's Molnier armour. He closed the distance to each attacker with frightening speed, disabling them with calculated efficiency. A sweep of his leg sent 3 soldiers sprawling.
While I give guardsmen's lasguns shit and call them flashlights, they are not. And enough of them can take down Space Marines, and they are very, very well trained. So with that said, the minute that he started moving and the minute he attacked that guardsman officer, that entire platoon would have opened fire. And you're talking about, granted, they're shooting lasers, concentrated laser blasts. But these are concentrated laser blasts that are powerful enough to go through tanks. They're powerful enough to bring down Space Marines. They're powerful enough to bring down Chaos Demons. They're not going to ricochet harmlessly off of armor.
Powerful shove sent another crashing into a barricade. Yet despite his overwhelming strength, not a single guardsman was killed. Chief's blows incapacitated, but never ended lives. Lena watched from the sidelines, her heart racing. The settlers had raised their weapons, but held their fire, stunned by the spectacle. "Is he even human?" she whispered. Garrett, gripping his rifle tightly, shook his head. "Human or not, he's on our side." Within moments, the platoon was reduced to a disarmed, groaning heap. Only the commissar remained standing, his hand resting on the ornate bolt pistol at his hip. His face was a mask of fury and disbelief. "Enough!" the commissar bellowed. "You dare humiliate the Emperor's chosen soldiers. You will pay for this insolence with your life." Chief turned to face him.
Chief moves at 60 miles an hour. That's great. Lasguns shoot lasers that move at the speed of light. Even if he is moving, and that is, he moves, as in all out runs. Like that's not like combat. That's if he's sprinting in a straight line. That's fine. Sure, I'll give it to you. Even in combat, he's going to be really freaking fast. But that wasn't the debate. My remark was concerning they started shooting. They started shooting wildly. No. Their las guns, ricocheting harmlessly off of his armor. No. The fact that they weren't, like, the minute he assaulted somebody else, the minute he assaulted a guardsman, they would have opened fire. The minute that they assaulted a guardsman, they would have opened fire on everyone. This is the grim, dark future. This is 40K. It's not nice. He's harboring them. He's protecting them. He's a heretic. Therefore, they are heretics. He moved to assault an Imperial Guardsman. The guard opens up, kills everybody. That's it. Plain and simple. How do you stop a superhuman moving at 60 miles an hour who's trying to protect people? You start killing the people he's trying to protect. Plain and simple. Like, that's it. That's fine. Terminators have force fields. Tower are protected by force fields. Like, I get what you're trying to say, that he has not just the armor, but on top of that. But those are things that exist in the 40K universe that las guns can punch through. Like, these are not flashlights as much as me and most non-Imperial Guard people like to give them shit about. Like, these are high-powered laser guns that are designed to kill things. Like, yeah, okay, you're defended by a force shield. A platoon is 40 soldiers. Like, if I remember correctly, if they're anywhere close to actual 40K rules, I think a platoon is upwards of 40 to 60 soldiers. Like, good fucking luck. And that's just assuming that the commissar doesn't get involved. Again, Masterchief is our main character, so we give him some leeway. Otherwise, the story is very short. Honestly, and this is pretty much a resounding throughout, like, the 40K and sci-fi, like, nerddom, gaming nerddom. Anything that is not, exactly, he's got main character plot armor. Anything that is not 40K that goes to 40K dies. Anything that is 40K that goes to not 40K owns. Period. That is pretty much almost universally accepted, with a very, very few, like, exceptions to the rule. One of them, which will probably be the next one that we talk about, the next reaction that we do, which is Doomslayer or Doom Guy, because he's one legitimately immortal. At least now he is by Doom 4. But the other thing is that he's, like, the worst of the 40K universe is his normal everyday life. Like, the thought of Doom Guy getting put into the warp is just another day at the office for Doom Guy. So, like, with him being, like, the big exception to the rule, 40K is on a level of grim, dark, bad shit brutality and power level, it's about the same jump in power level as far as Marvel is concerned that the X-Men are to the rest of the Marvel universe. If you take any one of the X-Men and you throw them in a Fantastic Four comic, the X-Men is going to just completely decimate everything because they're that much more powerful. That is the scale that 40K is on. Everything is that much more powerful. So I'll give him the plot armor, let it go, but this is a bit much. He would not be taking on. Exactly. For you, it was the most important day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Tyrion Lannister. Right? Yeah, that was Tywin. It was Tywin Lannister. Yes. I think. But the biggest thing is the fact that, one, he wouldn't be taking down an entire platoon because, was that time? No. Am I getting it confused with somebody else? I'm pretty sure that Tywin Lannister said that, though. No, that was Bison. That was Bison out of Street Fighter. That's right. That was Raul Julia. That was Bison out of Street Fighter. Talking to Chun-Li, if I remember correctly. They were having a discussion about all the people he killed. Yep. What he did to her village. I remember that, right? I'm pretty sure Tywin said something like that. That sounds like something Tywin would say anyway. But no, I got it back. Yeah, it was Raul Julia. But yeah, so anyway, we'll give him the plot armor. There's no way in hell he's gonna like single-handedly beat up like 40 dudes. And one, the commissar's not getting involved, and two, he's gonna be able to survive. And three, one of the coldest lines in cinema history, yes. One, the commissar's not getting involved. Two, he's going to be able to take out 40 dudes without taking scratch. And three, he's going to be able to take out 40 dudes without the commissar just telling them to murder everybody. That's just the way 40K works.
Wet, framed by the smouldering remains of the orc camp. I didn't kill your men because they were just following orders, but if you force my hand, I won't hold back. The commissar's hand tightened on his pistol. You speak as if you're above the Emperor's judgment. Who are you to defy his will? Chief stepped closer, his voice calm but unyielding. I'm not part of your Imperium. These people aren't either. They're survivors. If you want to press this, you'll answer to me. The commissar hesitated. The battlefield was silent, except for the crackle of dying flames and the groans of injured guardsmen. His pistol wavered, but his pride held firm. This is heresy, he spat. The Inquisition will hear of this. You'll burn for your defiance. Chief's visor reflected the commissar's angry glare. Then go, tell them whatever you want. But if you come back, bring more than words. With a snarl, the commissar holstered his weapon and barked orders to his men. Fall back, we're leaving.
Which should be directly followed by I want this entire billet place to be a giant smoldering crater.
The guardsmen,
Because
bruised
that's what
and
would happen.
battered, scrambled to their feet and retreated in disarray. The settlers watched in stunned silence as the Imperial platoon disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind only the tension that hung in the air. Garrett approached Chief cautiously.
The giant earth shaker cannons of the Imperial Guard that are responsible for cracking Cadia would turn that entire plane into a crater. Problem solved.
You just made an enemy of the Imperium. Are you sure about this? Chief's gaze remained fixed on the horizon. I've made worse enemies. Hours later...
No, you haven't.
The Commissar's column reached their outpost, a fortified bunker bristling with defences. He stormed into the command centre, his anger barely contained. The room fell silent as he activated the Voxcaster, its static crackling ominously. "This is Commissar Bastian Arkov, requesting direct communication with the Ordo Hereticus." The Vox operator hesitated. "The Inquisition doesn't usually respond to—" "Do it now," Arkov snapped. The operator complied, and moments later, the cold, clipped voice of an Inquisitor filled the room. "This is Inquisitor Kale Vardis. Speak." Arkov's tone was sharp, his frustration barely masked. "Inquisitor, I have encountered a heretic leading a settlement on the outskirts of our territory. He's heavily armed, wearing advanced armor unlike anything I've ever seen. He's no ordinary renegade." "And why?" Vardis interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. "Should this single heretic concern me? The galaxy is teeming with traitors." Arkov gritted his teeth. "This one defeated an entire platoon of guardsmen without killing a single man. He's enhanced, stronger, faster than any human has the right to be. And his armor, it's beyond anything the Mechanicus can produce." There was a pause, and when Vardis spoke again, his tone was colder. "Describe this armor." Arkov did so, recounting the sleek design, the unyielding strength, and the eerie efficiency with which its wearer moved. When he finished, the Vox was silent for a long moment. "You're certain of what you saw?" Vardis asked finally. "I am," Arkov said. "This is no ordinary heretic. Whatever he is, he's a threat to the Imperium." Vardis's voice hardened. "Prepare your outpost for my arrival. I will see this heretic myself."
So, when it comes to the Inquisition, 100%, he would have been able to get a direct line to an Inquisitor. As a Commissar, as a leader of a Imperial Guard detachment, he would have been able to have a direct line to a Commissar, or to an Inquisitor. 100%. There's Inquisitors spread all over the Imperium. There's probably, it's not hard to believe that there's one on that planet, or at least in the sector, or in the system. However, as soon as he started describing the armor and the physical competence, it probably would have gone out of the Ordo Hereticus. Because the Ordo Hereticus deals in, while they deal with heretics, it's mostly cultists, and psychers. They're called the witch hunters for a reason. Something like this, where you're talking advanced technology from outside the Imperium, is either going to get passed on to the Ordo Xenos, which deals with the alien, or passed on, "Hey, Winter, how's it going, bud?" Or it's going to get passed on to the Ordo Malleus, which are the demon hunters. Either one of those two, Ordo Xenos or Ordo Malleus, are much more martial than the Ordo Hereticus. What the Ordo Hereticus can bring to bear is the Adeptus Sororitas, which I think Chief would probably have a pretty good chance against. Do you have Space Marine 2? I love Space Marine 2. Although I don't play it as much as I used to anymore, because it is definitely one of those games that is more fun to play with other people. And randos, I don't like playing with randos. But yeah. How you doing, Winter? Thanks for coming by. How's your snacks? saw that you had with you and Mac tonight. Mixed. Yeah, I saw you were at a stream with snacks. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Just let me know. I would love to join you guys sometime playing. Although I will say I pretty much solely play Bulwark. So if that's gonna be a problem. But no, yeah, definitely. We can definitely get in there and play. The dudes with the shields. The dudes with the shields. But yeah, no. So your snacks were mixed. Some of them were good, some of them bad. Where you said you picked them up in New York? New York City. You can place where that callbacks to. Although I didn't get a chance to watch your stream, I apologize. I did check out the Twitch story you posted. So, but yeah, so what we're doing tonight is we are reacting to what if Masterchief from Halo found himself in the 40K universe. And I've pretty much discussed that they have given Masterchief a hearty helping of main character plot armor. And I don't think that they have as much. The writers, I don't think the writer is taking a lot of liberties as far as the setting, or I don't think that they have a full grasp of how dark and brutal the 40K setting is. Because it's really not been described the way, like, this is a pretty My Little Pony 40K. I'll put it that way. Like there's the power of friendship and rainbows and like people celebrating. There's not nearly enough good people dying, wanton slaughter and killing, and massive ego dick swinging, as there honestly should be. So but so far, as far as a Master Chief centered story is concerned, it's not bad. I mean, Master Chief is a beast, and he's been portrayed that way. But anyway, so I don't know if a Ordo Hereticus Inquisitor would be the one that would respond, or if it would be someone, if it would be another Ordo of the Order of the Inquisition. But we'll just let it run, because that's who he contacted, was the Hereticus.
The Voxcaster went dead, leaving Arkoff alone in the silence of the command center. He exhaled slowly, his hands trembling as he removed his cap. "What have you brought upon us?" he muttered, staring at the darkened horizon where the settlement lay. Back at the settlement, the mood was somber. The villagers worked tirelessly to repair their defences, their earlier victory overshadowed by the spectre of Imperial retaliation. Chief stood at the edge of the camp, his visor reflecting the distant stars.
Imperial retaliation, which should mean an entire armored company, if not just the Earthshaker Basilisk cannons, turning the entire area into a giant crater, should mean like Layman Russ and Rogel Dorn battle tanks, and like 100 plus soldiers. like, that village is not going to exist for long.
Lena approached, her voice hesitant. You think they'll come back? They will, Chief said simply. She looked at him, searching for any sign of doubt behind the impassive helmet. What will we do? Chief turned to face her, his voice steady. We do our duty. We prepare and we fight. The settlers' determination hardened, their resolve echoing the unshakable strength of the Spartan who stood among them. Beyond the settlement, the stars seemed to shimmer with a silent warning. The hammer of the Imperium was coming. The storm-shrouded sky over the Imperial Guard outpost mirrored Commissar Arkov's turmoil. Within the command center, the air crackled with tension as Inquisitor Kale Vardis swept into the room, his black and crimson robes billowing. His gaunt face was etched with cold authority, and his bionic eye glowed ominously in the dim light. Behind him marched a retinue of elite inquisitorial stormtroopers, their carapace armor and hellguns a stark contrast to the battered guardsmen who saluted stiffly as they passed. Arkov stood to attention.
Okay, so Caribou's armor looks a lot like Master Chief's armor. It's not going to have force field or anything like that, but it's going to be the same kind of protection, the amount of protection of Master Chief's armor. Hellguns are much more powerful las guns, basically.
His face pale but resolute. Inquisitor Vardis, welcome to our outpost. Vardis's eyes flicked to the Commissar.
And of course, stormtroopers being like decorated veterans, combat veterans. These are not your normal average dudes.
And then to the assembled officers. Spare me the pleasantries. Take me to this settlement immediately. If this so-called heretic is as dangerous as you claim, we waste time standing here. Of course, Inquisitor, Arkov replied, leading the way. As they moved, he cast uneasy glances at the Inquisitor's stormtroopers, their silent, menacing presence unnerving even to a hardened commissar. The outpost officers whispered nervously as the retinue exited the bunker, boarding a convoy of armoured vehicles. The engines roared to life, and the column set out toward the settlement. The settlement stood on the edge of a vast, charred plain. Makeshift barricades and hastily fortified positions dotted the camp. Settlers worked tirelessly, reinforcing defences under the watchful eye of the Masterchief, who stood near the perimeter, his imposing frame silhouetted against the flickering fires. The Spartan's visor reflected the approaching dust cloud of the convoy. Lena ran up to him, breathless. "They're coming." Chief turned to the settlers. "Get inside, now." The settlers hesitated, fear and defiance warring in their expressions. "Chief, inside," he repeated, his voice like steel. Reluctantly, they obeyed, retreating into the shelter of the camp. As the convoy approached, Chief stepped forward, his posture unyielding. The vehicles ground to a halt, and the Inquisition's forces disembarked. Vardis emerged, flanked by his stormtroopers and the visibly tense Arkov. "Heretic," Vardis declared, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "You stand accused of defying the Emperor's will and obstructing his servants. Surrender yourself and your death will be swift." Chief's reply was measured, his tone calm. "These people are under my protection. I'm not going anywhere with you." Vardis's lip curled in disdain. "Fool, you cannot stand against the might of the Imperium. I give you one final chance. "Submit or be annihilated." Chief's only response was to draw his assault rifle, its faint hum signaling readiness. The settlers watched from the shadows, their breaths held. Vardis's eyes narrowed. So be it. Stormtroopers, subdue him. The first wave of stormtroopers advanced, hellguns blazing. Their precision was impeccable, but their shots glanced off Chief's Mjolnir armor, sparks flying harmlessly. He moved with surgical efficiency, closing the distance in a heartbeat. A stormtrooper raised his weapon, only for Chief to wrench it away and deliver a bone-crushing strike to the soldier's chest, sending him sprawling. A second trooper lunged, and Chief's fist met his helmet with a resounding crack, the reinforced material shattering. Chief spun, dodging a volley of shots, and hurled a flash grenade. The detonation disoriented the attackers, giving the opening to incapacitate two more with brutal precision. The stormtroopers regrouped, forming a disciplined firing line, but Chief charged, weaving through the barrage of hellgun fire. He reached the line, slamming into it like an unstoppable force. Bodies flew as his armored shoulder met a soldier's torso, and his fist shattered another's visor. Vardis watched with mounting fury. Bring him down. Use the heavy weapons. A second wave emerged, wielding plasma guns and flamers. The air shimmered with heat as plasma bolts streaked toward Chief. He ducked and rolled, his movements impossibly fast. A flamer's jet of fire roared toward him, but he vaulted over the attacker, landing behind them and delivering a devastating blow that crumpled the soldier's armor. The battle raged, Chief's resilience in combat prowess, an awe-inspiring spectacle. Even as he disabled soldier after soldier, the weight of numbers began to tell. He showed no signs of fatigue, but the stormtrooper's relentless assault left little room to maneuver. A plasma bolt struck his shoulder, the impact staggering him momentarily. Vardis stepped forward, his bionic eye glowing ominously. Enough of this. Deploy the null field. A device was activated, and a shimmering field enveloped the area around Chief. His movement slowed, the advanced systems of his armor faltering under the field's suppressive effects. Stormtroopers swarmed him, their blows raining down. He fought back, his strength still formidable, but the field dulled his reactions. Arkoff watched in grim silence as Chief was overwhelmed, his imposing figure finally forced to the ground. The stormtroopers restrained him with heavy chains, their breaths ragged and faces blooded. Vardis approached, his expression triumphant. "You fought well, heretic, but even you cannot defy the Emperor's will." Chief's visor turned toward the Inquisitor, his voice steady despite his predicament. "You're making a mistake." Vardis sneered. "Silence!" The settlers watched in horror as Chief was loaded onto the inquisitorial transport. Lena's fists were clenched, tears streaming down her face. "We can't just let them take him." Garrett placed a hand on her shoulder. "He'd want us to survive. We'll wait for our chance." Aboard the Inquisition's ship, Chief's armor was secured in a containment field. Vardis studied it closely, his fingers brushing the battle-scarred surface. "Fascinating," he muttered. "This design, it's unlike anything the Mechanicus has produced."
So again, they handled that with kid gloves. Because more than likely, having dubbed Chief a heretic, they would have just cleansed the entire village. Main battle tanks would have opened fire, plasma bolts, everything else. They would have just cleansed the village. But they seem to be taking a very kid glove approach to the 40k universe.
Yet it bears a vague resemblance to Astartes' power armor. An adjutant stepped forward hesitantly. "Inquisitor, should we inform the Mechanicus?" Vardis's expression darkened. "Reluctantly, yes. Contact them. I want their Magos biologists and artisans to examine this armor. If this creature is some experiment gone rogue, we must uncover its origins. As the adjutant moved to comply, Vardis turned back to Chief, who sat restrained within the containment field. "You will tell me everything, heretic. Where you come from, who created you, and what your purpose is." Chief's gaze met the Inquisitor's unyielding. "You'll get nothing from me." Vardis's lips curled into a cruel smile. "We'll see." Beyond the ship's reinforced viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, their light cold and unfeeling. The settlers' camp lay far below, its people mourning the loss of their protector, but in their hearts a spark of defiance burned. They would not forget the Spartan who had stood against the Imperium itself, and neither, it seemed, would the Inquisition. The Mechanicus shuttle descended onto the Inquisition ship with mechanical precision, its crimson hull gleaming under the sterile hangar lights. A procession of robed adepts disembarked, their forms obscured by flowing garments adorned with cog motifs and trailing incense. Leading them was Magos Dominus Cyrax, a towering figure of metal and flesh whose bionic limbs clanked with each step. Servo skulls floated in his wake, scanning the area with cold, red lenses. Inquisitor Kael Vardis met them at the edge of the hangar, flanked by his stormtroopers. His expression was one of restrained impatience. "Magos Cyrax, you are here at my request to examine a unique specimen. You will find it unlike anything recorded in the Mechanicus archives." Cyrax's voice emerged as a monotone screech, layered with the hum of a vox augment. "Your summons described anomalous technology. Such discoveries are the Omnissiah's blessing. Lead us to the subject." Vardis turned sharply, gesturing for them to follow.
So I think we're probably going to hear that term, the Omnissiah, since we're dealing with the Mechanicus. We're probably going to hear the term Omnissiah much more. That's the Emperor. It's just their weird machine god name for him. So Mechanicus believes that flesh is weak, that machines are the best, and that because of that, machines and technology, along with having machines being better, machines and technology have spirits, the machine spirits, and those machine spirits are directly from the Emperor, or what their term is, the Omnissiah. So we will probably hear that term much more often because we are dealing with the Mechanicus. When they refer to the Emperor, they refer to him as the Omnissiah.
The group marched through the ship's labyrinthine corridors, their destination an isolated containment chamber deep within the vessel's reinforced hull. Inside the containment chamber, Masterchief stood motionless, his armor restrained by heavy-duty servitor clamps. His visor reflected the eerie green glow of scanning arrays and Auspex devices operated by tech priests. The Spartan's posture was calm, though his silence exuded defiance. Cyrax approached, his mechadendrites whirring as they extended toward the armor. "Fascinating," he intoned. "This configuration, alloy density, energy distribution. This is not of Mechanicus origin, nor does it align with Xenos design." Vardis crossed his arms, his tone sharp. "Is it human?" The Magos turned to his adepts, who were analyzing data streams. One of them, a low-ranking engine seer, hesitated before speaking. "The biological signature within the armor is human. However, The subject displays significant augmentation beyond baseline capabilities and comparable to, but distinct from, Adeptus Astartes gene seed enhancements. Cyrex's mechadendrites probed further, drawing sparks from the armor's surface. Subject's modifications include skeletal reinforcement, enhanced musculature, neural augmentation, and advanced metabolic regulation. This is not Mechanicus work.
All right, we got about 30 seconds until the ads start. So just like last time, we're going to go ahead and take a pause for 3 minutes while the ads run. If you don't want to have to deal with the ads, you can subscribe. If you don't want to pay good hard-earned money to subscribe, go ahead and use that Prime subscription because, you know, everybody's got Amazon Prime. At least if you do, you get Prime subscription and you can give me Jeff Bezos' money. So get up, get something to drink, stretch out, and we'll see you back in 3. All right. We are back. Sorry about that. I got caught up with kids. So we'll go for a little bit longer. We're only 40 minutes. We still got another, give or take, about 2 hours worth of this video. And if I keep talking the way I am, it's going to take us forever. So we'll go for a little bit longer. But we are definitely not finishing this video tonight.
Vardis's gaze darkened. So, a rogue faction has dared to meddle with a sacred template of humanity. You will tell us who created you and why, he demanded, his eyes boring into Masterchief. But Masterchief remained silent, his visor fixed on Vardis. The Inquisitor's patience snapped. Begin the interrogation. Electroprods sparked to life as the tech priests activated instruments designed to extract information through pain. Bolts of electricity coursed through the armor, targeting neural relay points. Chief's body jerked slightly under the assault, but his silence remained unbroken. Impressive resilience, Cyrax noted clinically. The nervous system withstands stimuli beyond standard tolerances. Further analysis is required. Vardis leaned closer, his voice a venomous hiss. You will speak. Who created you? What purpose do you serve? Chief's reply was steady and cold. You wouldn't understand. Fury flashed across Vardis's face. Then we'll cut the answers out of you. Magos, prepare for a vivisection. A surgical servitor rolled forward, its multi-limbed frame bristling with saws and scalpels. The machine's whirring blades descended toward Chief's restrained form. But before the first incision could be made, the ship's alarms blared, filling the chamber with a shrill, urgent wail. A voice crackled over the vox. Warning, Xenos presence detected. Tyranid bioships have breached the system. All hands, prepare for boarding action. Vardis turned sharply, cursing under his breath. Tyranids? Here? The chamber's bulkhead doors hissed open as an officer sprinted in. His face was pale with fear. Inquisitor, Termagants have infiltrated the lower decks. We're being overrun. Chief's voice cut through the chaos. Release me. Vardis whirled to face him. You're in no position to make demands, heretic. You're out of time, Chief said. You need me. Release me, and I'll help you fight them. The Inquisitor hesitated, his pride warring with practicality. The screams of dying men echoed through the corridors, accompanied by the chittering of Tyranid horrors. Vardis growled and turned to his stormtroopers. Unshackle him, but if he tries anything, kill him. The servitor clamps released, and Chief stepped forward, rolling his shoulders as the weight of his armor settled back into place. He turned to Vardis. Stay out of my way. The lower decks were a war zone. Termagants swarmed through corridors, their claws and bioweapons tearing through guardsmen and crew alike. Chief led the charge.
So, Termagants and Tyranids. So we'll talk about these real quick. I'll try to be brief. Xenomorphs. Easiest way to phrase it. If you've seen the movie Alien or Aliens or any of those, Xenomorphs. That's what the Tyranids are. Termagants specifically are bipedal, small, kind of weird-looking aliens that shoot biomechanical guns. Everything that they use is all part of their biophysiology. It's if they shoot a gun, it's either going to shoot some kind of bioplasma or digestive juice or like a carapace spine or something of that sort.
His assault rifle barking as he cut down wave after wave of the alien creatures. Each shot was precise, each movement calculated to maximize efficiency. A stormtrooper shouted, "Behind you!"
And this is where I could see Chief really shining, because this is pretty much there's very little difference between the Flood and the Tyranids. At least from what little I've watched of Halo gameplay, where you have just wave after wave of small, weak, mindless soldier, and every once in a while a larger, more powerful bug. That's the Tyranids.
Chief spun, grabbing a leaping Termagant mid-air and slamming it into the ground with bone-shattering force. He followed up with a grenade, its explosion incinerating a cluster of the creatures. Vardis and Cyrax observed from a vantage point, the Inquisitor's expression one of reluctant admiration. "He's more effective than an entire platoon of stormtroopers," Vardis admitted begrudgingly. Cyrax's mechadendrites twitched. "Such efficiency is extraordinary. The Omnissiah's hand may yet be at work here." Chief pressed forward, rallying the surviving soldiers. "Form a line. Hold this corridor." The guardsmen obeyed, their morale bolstered by his presence. Under his command, their fire discipline improved, and the Xenos advance began to falter. A deafening roar shook the ship as a Carnifex burst through a bulkhead, its massive frame bristling with bioweaponry.
There we go. That's the right one. Carnifex. Tyranid walker tank thing. Probably twice again as tall as a Space Marine, so twice again as tall as Masterchief. Space Marine lieutenants. In Terminator armor would have a hard time. Space Marine captains in Terminator armor would have a hard time dealing with the Carnifex one-on-one. Master Chief, even with a squad of stormtroopers, should not have a chance. But we'll see.
The beast charged, scattering soldiers like ragdolls. Chief sprinted to meet it, dodging a swipe of its massive claws. He vaulted onto its back, driving a combat knife into its armoured carapace. The Carnifex roared, bucking wildly, but Chief held firm, targeting vulnerable joints. With a final, brutal twist, he severed its spine, and the creature collapsed in a lifeless heap. The surviving Tyranids were routed, their numbers too few to maintain the assault. The ship's defenders began the grim task of clearing the corridors of alien corpses.
Yeah, sure, we'll give Master Chief some plot for that one. Sure. So, to one point, they're true. Tyranids are hive mind creatures. They deal with a synaptic. They deal with synapse. So, smaller life forms, termagants, have to be led by a larger life form that would then have to be led by a larger life form. This Carnifex could be acting as a synapse creature for these smaller life forms, in which case, when the Carnifex dies, smaller life forms, they won't break and rout, like they won't run away. Like, tactically, when you say rout, that's a strategic withdrawal. Tyranids, like termagants that no longer have a synapse creature nearby, will just go feral. They'll just go berserk and start attacking whatever. They will immediately just shift into animal mode, and the first thing that's not a Tyranid that they find will be the first thing that they try to eat. And if there's nothing around that's not a Tyranid to find to eat, they will start eating at other Tyranids.
and tending to their wounded. Chief stood amidst the carnage, his armour streaked with blood and gore. Vardis approached, flanked by his stormtroopers. The Inquisitor's expression was unreadable. "You've proven yourself useful," Vardis admitted. "But this changes nothing. You will answer for your defiance." Chief turned to face him, his voice calm and unwavering. "What now?" Vardis hesitated, the weight of the question hanging in the air. Beyond the viewpoint, the Tyranid bioships loomed, their shadowy forms a reminder that the battle was far from over.
So that, I think that's where we're at a chapter. We're at an episode end, and it's we've been at this for a couple hours now. So we're gonna go ahead and call it with this for the night. I think. So. Yeah. While I appreciate what they're doing here, and I really do. It's an interesting story. I think that they need to pay a lot more attention to the setting that they're supposed to be in and what they would be dealing with. There's not a lot of the setting that we're seeing. There's just, it's not. This is a very, in my opinion, this is a very, like, kid glove safe version of the 40K universe. But with that, it is getting kind of late. I'm pretty tired from work earlier. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to call it a night. For this, we will pick up where we left off next week, and probably see if we can't make it a little bit further next week. So yeah, like you said, we'll be changing reaction nights to Tuesday nights from here going out, just to kind of make things a little bit easier on me and to better coincide with people in the community. I know I have several people in the community who are big into WWE and UFC and stuff that happens on Sundays, so I think this might be a better night for them. Plus, it gives me something nice and chilled to do after I've worked all day and then come home and dealt with kids and everything else. So yeah, so we're gonna do reactions on Tuesdays, and then we'll do we're still gonna do mini Mondays, or mini mornings on Friday mornings, and we will continue to go from there. I see Mr. OMG is streaming. We tried to raid him last time, but we raided him as he was finishing up. So let me take a look here. So it looks like he's still going. So we're going to go ahead and raid into him. Let him know that we sent you, and have a good one. And we will see you in a couple days. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great night.